Welcome back to Relationship Evolutions Bridging the Divide. I am Kelly, and we are going down into the masculine instincts today. This episode was inspired by a moment that I recently had where I was emotionally breaking down. And I was in my truck, and I remember I was in mid breakdown. I was unraveling. It was loud, it was messy, it was gutted. And right there, after I expressed my emotions, I had this realization I can't carry it like this anymore. My next thought was about men, trying to figure it out along the way, and how do we keep going? What is it that we need to do? And when I was thinking about men, it was in a way of how many of them feel this pressure silently every damn day. They don't cancel life, you just hold. You hold the line. There's this ancient code that I have witnessed in my partners, my friends, my family members, all of the clientele that I've had and men that I've talked to over the years that is very, very consistent. And even though we're humans, we have weak moments, we fall down on our face, we get kicked by life, we're going to have moments where we're not very proud of. There's this instinct in men that I want to honor today, and it's them holding the line. It comes and goes in certain times, but ultimately, it's one of the most consistent things that I have witnessed in men. And that instinct, it has saved me. I got pissed off and I got up. And this episode is dedicated to that part of you. Not the performative stuff that you're quote unquote supposed to be, not the twisted, criminalized version that culture tries to sell everyone. The real thing, the thing that I see, the thing that I love, the thing that I learn from, and the thing that has served my life by learning from you. This is my field report on the masculine instinct. It's going to be raw and sort of full of reverence because I have always loved men, because even through all of those frustrating moments that might have happened between who knows who, there's always a code that's underneath it all. And if we just spend time to look through the pain, look through the fog, the confusion, there is a system, there is a pattern. And to be quite honest, we're going to be excavating that today. So if you're just joining me, welcome to Relationship Evolutions, Bridging the Divide. I am Kelly Algrum. And next week, don't worry, we are going to be doing this same reverence kind of holding of the feminine as well. We're going to be excavating there too. How do we honor women, and how do we honor what they do? How do we honor what they're made of? And so we're going to be looking into that next time. And I'm actually very excited to bring you that episode because it's going to mean something to me that I'm going to share with you guys that's I've never shared with anyone before. So make sure that you're listening in for the next episode because that one is maybe even more special to me than the masculine. And even recently, I didn't think that was possible. There was something about the masculine that I've always had great love for, even in the times of frustration. And I want to share that with you today because men have been beat up on for so long. As far as us being a united front, I think it's someone's turn to make sure that they feel seen. And I want to do my best to do that today for you guys. Is this going to be perfect? Hell no, it's not going to be perfect at all. But I definitely want to give it a shot and give it a try. And this episode is here to unveil and recognize what's here inside of that masculine architecture. And this is long overdue because I have been what I call quote unquote defending men for so long. And I don't really want to defend men because that puts women automatically in opposition of them. And this is not what we do. This is not what we're here for. And I refuse to make it like that. Because honestly, there's a reason why we have these instincts and there's a reason we have a job to do. And one of the things that's very important for us to understand is what is being brought to the table by a man and a woman and why we are attracted, magnetized, and have value that the other one seeks out. So let me say this clearly. This is not the whole of masculinity. And if we're going to bridge this divide, we need to look at the raw materials so that we can understand where our men are coming from, so that we can respect it, honor it, and revere it for what it is. And these instincts, they do show up differently in every man. We don't want to compare men to other men. This is about recognition and honoring instincts that I love to witness. Forgive me if I fumble some because I am a woman, not a man. And so I'm just doing my best to translate this other species that I'll never actually be able to fully step into myself. And so before we begin, it is really important that I call out something to everyone that is listening right now. I want to offer a very small invitation because being in this niche of masculine and feminine coaching, one of the most common things that I will do is as soon as I'm talking to a client or whoever that might want to come into coaching or I'm doing an interview for studying, it's very common for one side to talk about the other side in a way of wounds, in a way of if we're commenting something good about one side, the other side feels a little bit left out. There's a little bit of an ache that's there. And so have you guys ever noticed that's what happens when someone else maybe get complimented or honored? There's a little flare up in some people. Like sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's loud, but the listener wants to tag it and say, well, hey, well, what about me? Are you saying that I'm not like that or I can't be like that? It's our ache to be seen. Okay. But if we're not careful, that ache can make us miss the moment. So I really want to invite everyone that's listening today to just practice something new together just right now and be mindful of this while you're going through this with me. What if we listen without trying to apply something on top of it? What if we didn't interrupt the praise and the recognition to get something of ourselves or to reject it immediately? So, like, for sometimes people will reject the message because they don't believe it or because they don't believe they're deserving of it. Literally last week, went out around in my hometown, giving out flowers and loving messages to just complete strangers with one of my friends. And there were men that absolutely adored that. And there's other men that were like, I don't deserve this. And I'm like, oh, I'm sure you do. And so we couldn't even give them the compliment and the love because they rejected it immediately. If it's not for you, that is really okay. It's not for you. But so many men are not used to even having recognition that it is such a foreign thing for them to get it. And I know that this might sound a little crazy, but I see it more often, honestly, than I would like. And so if that is you listening today, please just allow me to shower you with a little bit of love and recognition for the man that you are and what you're made of. You don't have to be a perfect man. You have made probably bad mistakes in your life and things that you really regret. That doesn't mean anything about who you are as a person. It just has to do with you're doing the best that you can. You deserve some recognition. And honestly, I want to give it to you. So I would hope that you would really want to receive this. And I know some of you are going to be thinking, oh, good, she's giving out participation trophies for everyone. Joy. It's not like that, I promise. But let's just lean in for right now. Everyone just hold their own triggers and give yourself the gift of staying curious. Because if we actually start recognizing the gratitude of what's here and we start learning to build up more instead of building down, then we get a lot further in life. So let's get into it. All right, the masculine instinct is something that I say is derived from what I call the survival dimension. If you remember in episode 4, I introduced my model. The masculine energy is a guardianship in this survival dimension. And let's get one thing straight. This is not survival mode. This is the survival dimension, the place where the masculine structure is forged. The more he rises in this dimension, the bigger the rewards that he will have in his life. It's not something that all men choose to do or know how to do, but the ones that do choose to evolve in their own self-evolution and be that more authentic version of his masculine self, the more layers that he will have in a fulfilling life, in his relationship, in his confidence that you see. I really like that because that tells us that we have a pathway of how far we want to rise is our choice. And the more we rise into these instincts that we carry in an authentic way, the more fulfilling our relationships become, including the one with yourself. And especially so, because there has to be some kind of a pride of being a man or a woman and what it is that you bring to the table. If you are not proud of the things that you bring to the table, that's the first place to look. The men come from the survival dimension that is here to protect life, secure it from chaos, provide environments. So saying all of that, this really puts certain missions in their own eye line, their own eyesight. That is going to be a higher priority than other things in life. So just think about that as we go through this. Those instincts are always going to be telling them what's on the line and what the mission is over other things. And so their prioritization is going to look different than a woman. We have two different missions in life, and a man has a mission and a woman has a mission. We are both leaders in our own missions within a relationship. Okay, so when it comes to the man is a guarding against chaos, protection against threats, providing to sustain. It's this part of their nervous system that has been shaped by time, tension, and threats. This is not about personality, it's about biology. And from the beginning of time, men have been scanning the horizon for danger, securing the perimeter, keeping others safe. So if you ever wondered why men talk less, argue hard, or refuse to dwell in drama, because they are forged in their instincts for efficiency in the face of chaos. So let me break that down because there's some noticing traits that everyone is going to hopefully recognize. Why are men logical thinkers? When you're being hunted, hesitation can get you killed, right? So men have learned over centuries of survival in their instincts that has been refined to trust action to move quickly. It can leave them looking a little rough around the edges sometimes, but they will have a laser light on the mission. That's what their vision is after. Mission first, clarity over comfort. It makes sense when you're tasked with making sure that the place isn't burning down, being invaded, and there are things to eat to continue for another day. Totally makes sense. What's the bottom line? They are scanning a lot of stuff. And so what they're doing is eliminating that's not the priority, that's not the priority, that's not the priority, that one, that's the priority. And so they will laser in on some of these other points because of this. This is why when you bring up something emotional, ladies, he doesn't lean in, hey, tell me about your emotions and all your inner child stuff that's going on with you. No, he doesn't do that because his first instinct is logically trying to scan for the danger and the threat. It is looking for the external world, not the internal world. He is tasked to make sure that the external world is taken care of and is not trying to kill the thing that he cares about. And so it's not to say that he can't look at the internal world and he's not going to care about your emotions. We just have to understand that it is not his first priority, not because it's not a priority, but because he's going to be doing his instincts first of what he's normally used to doing. And then when he understands that, oh, this is an emotional problem, not an external problem. I don't need my sword right now. I can sheathe that, and now I can be present and sit here in this emotion. Which, by the way, not so comfortable for men because it goes against their instincts. It goes against just sitting still while there's this horrible pain that's happening. Like, they want to help that pain get better now, and so that means crush the thing that's causing the pain. So this is very difficult for men to actually sit through because it's not that they don't care. It's that it's not in the way that they're used to caring as far as what they're used to. They're using their logic, they're using their tools, they're using their physical force, they're using their decision making, they're using their territorial stuff, they're using their assertiveness, their masculinity is used to move things. And emotions are a completely different demon. It's a completely different world. And so just as all humans have to learn how to wield their emotions, it's still in his wheelhouse. The internal world is a completely different terrain to have warfare in and be successful in and win battles in than the external world. It needs a more blunt kind of approach. And when I say blunt, I just mean we're not stabbing it with a sword that he's used to using to keep you protected. So whenever he sees his woman in pain, crying and running to him with a problem, his brain is going to light up like system breach. We must fix this, eliminate threats, contain the chaos, and so one of the biggest problems that guys get accused of is that they're not listening. They're just trying to fix and like take over things for her. And this is really tragic because honestly, that they're doing the exact thing that they're encoded to do. Is there's pain here, there's a problem here, there's something that's causing this woman to have an issue, and she's bringing it to me, which means she's telling me that this is a problem, please come fix it. That is what his instincts are scanning for and understanding of the problem. You have to understand that this thing is in pain, it's crying, it's upset, there's a problem. And what doesn't make sense is talking about more of that pain, not doing something to stop the pain, to stop that quote unquote bleeding that's happening. Because in his mind, that's just crazy. That's causing more issue, more problem, instead of making that go away. He wants that to become peaceful. And so he wants to create some kind of containment to that pain. And so poking the injury more and talking about it and making it bigger is kind of counterintuitive to a man. And so that's one of the things that we really can get in trouble when we're inside of a relationship space and we're not understanding that this is what's happening, because to him, something freaking caused this pain. So naturally, he's going to want to do what he does, and that's scan the room. He's not trying to take over and control the situation. That is his protectiveness. That territorialness means this thing matters to me and it's valuable and it's hurt. And I love that men are that way. I love them for that. Ladies, don't miss what's underneath what he's doing. Even if he's maybe fumbling understanding what the threat is right now, just give him a benefit of the doubt here. He's activated to search and destroy for things that cause harm and chaos. He's there to protect. He's encoded for that. Another way that this kind of comes through is how men can be very laconic in their communication. You use them to alert, detect, and protect. Like you can even just use hand signals. You don't even need words. Like, why do we got to talk through this out? Guys like, yes, we don't need to talk. Let's just use hand signals. That's fine. All the women in here are like groaning and wanting to string me up. But so anyway, when a woman is saying, I thought I heard something in the tent, but I figured it was just a bird or maybe wind or it was possibly a squirrel that ran by earlier, or maybe I was just being paranoid. The man is already out of the tent, scanning around looking for something. He didn't say a word, right? And so she's talking about all of these things, right? And he's taking this action. This is just a fundamental difference. So, ladies, I'm raising my hand while I'm literally calling us out, okay? But I work in veterinary medicine, and some of the work that I do is in toxicology. So when I have different callers that come in, I notice one thing now more than ever. When a man calls me about his dog eating something, 8 out of 10 times, he is literally just sharing the bare facts that I ask about. What's your dog's name and breed, age and weight? Is there any medical conditions? Is there any medications? Okay, my dog ate rat poison. He's a mutt. His name is Chase. What do I need to do? That's it. That's all he says. It's really incredible. I love it. It helps because it makes the case go by so fast. We have a situation on our hands. We need to move quickly. Ladies, it's incredible because 8 out of 10 women are literally expanding on every little detail that doesn't matter. Women will call me and say, I think he might have had rat poison. I don't know for sure. We don't know because we rescued him and he's always a little bit quirky with food. And he's the kind of dog that we love him, but he can be a really big handful. And sometimes he's the one that gets into things, but not always. Sometimes his brother's getting into the things. And I'm sitting there just patiently, babe. I just need the breed, not the biography. I don't really care that you adopted your dog 3 years ago. This is not an exaggeration at all. Happens almost every call. I have to reel the ladies in. She's trying to help. She's trying to bring in information. She doesn't know what my job is. She doesn't know the things that I'm doing on the backside of this. That's where she's trying to connect all of these things that might be important. And also, she's trying to do something else that men don't recognize, maybe. She's trying to give me a picture of her baby. She's trying to make me have an emotional connection to it. Why? Because then I'll care for it better, right? The more information you have, the more you're going to care for something. Women understand this, so that details matter. So this isn't about crucifying women. It's just neither of them are wrong. It's just a pattern recognition. He's just giving facts, she's giving context, and details do matter sometimes. Both are valid, but they are not the same tool. And sometimes one gets in the way where the other one needs to stand in. Men have where they actually have the laser beam that cuts through that big picture so that they can get to the end point faster and then discuss the details later if needed. He's not being dismissive. He's just trying to keep the system alive and eliminate the things that don't need the priority. That is him showing up. That is him holding. That is him building. That is him speaking. And that language of provision and protection and presence, he's saying that way more than you think by doing this. Another thing to bring into this, into kind of a new area, is whenever a guy is arguing with a woman, like when he's quote unquote trying to teach a woman something, this one gets misunderstood all of the time. When a man starts correcting or explaining or trying to address a woman's thinking, it's really easy to assume that I don't know, he's being competitive or dismissive or arrogant or whatever. But let's actually look deeper because for a lot of men, this is still their protective instinct. So hear me about this because it's a part of him that says, if I love you, babe, don't you understand that I want you armed? You need protecting too, and I can't be there every second of the day. So let's adapt to that. Let me give you the map to this topic. Let me show you how to fix this blind spot that you have with it. Let me help you win so that you can conquer as well. He's not shaming you, he's training you. He's not meaning to train you because he thinks that you're not good enough. He's actually trying to do it to shield you and protect you. It's completely opposite than how a lot of the times it comes across. Sometimes this is where I call men a little bit of rough around the edges. It's just because you're used to getting to the point and not having to expand on things. Totally get it. And she's got a responsibility here too, because ladies, he is teaching you because he loves you, because he's trying to protect you. And that's his native tongue of love. Okay, so if we stop demanding that every moment be soft and every moment he has to slow down and every moment he's got to translate his intention, that's a little overbearing and a lot of work. If we were looking at intention instead of his delivery, he wouldn't need to soften every moment because we could look right through and be like, oh, okay, that totally makes sense. And we wouldn't even take it personal. So let's continue moving forward. So, saying all of that, now I wanted to just cap some of that with some of the things that you may have not heard in that, but is encapsulating what the masculine instincts inside of the survival dimension that I have coined is. And this isn't everything that's there, but as a base map, there's four of them that we could really just really lean into. And one of them I call the sentinel instinct. That's the guy that's scanning the environment, he's tackling subtle threats, he's maintaining emotional vigilance. Okay. There is a guardian instinct that's here as well, that's protecting by creating order, structures, and shielding things. There's a pursuit instinct that's here. He's channeling energy into direction, into goals, into commitment, into bonding, into purpose. So we have a lot of different instincts that can weave in and out when it comes to men. And so this is why understanding them matters. They are complex creatures. So let's go a little bit deeper into this because after learning about kind of men's logic, their communication style, why they might be arguing with us, I want to look at this sentinel a little bit more deeply. Every man has a little bit of a guard dog in him. Some more than others, but it is there waiting to be activated. And it's quiet and it's watching. And this is the sentinel instinct. Let's get into his head a little bit. And I hope to do it honor here because it is a part of a man that doesn't wait to be asked to protect something. He just does it. He could be a complete stranger, and this man is doing this thing. I love these moments that happened in my life because complete strangers are doing things to protect me. And it's amazing whenever you start picking this up and you start noticing it everywhere. He might walk into a room and he's scanning the environment where he even knows that he's doing it. Where are the exits? What's the energy? What's uncomfortable? Who's got power here? Where's the tension? Like you can notice that they're doing these things. And there's a men that will position themselves where he can see the whole room, right? Or he's going to walk on the street side without a word. He's just putting himself in this guard dog kind of positioning. The sentinel, he shows love by staying sober, by staying aware, by staying on, by keeping his head on a swivel, by making sure things are taken care of whenever you're going off road. He's gonna about to give you the third degree on, is your car got good tires? Is it got this? Is it got this? Like he's always scanning for danger. He's always staying on because this is the guy that's going to offer to carry something for you, not because you can't do it, but because in his world, if something's heavy and it's about to fall, it better fall on him. He's going to protect, he's going to use himself to protect you. That is a protective structure serving others, and it is his honor to do it. So let's define this really clearly because structure is a command of one's internal self. It is not control of others. Structure is not domination, it's containment. And containment, ladies, is not a cage. It is his scaffolding, a protective boundary that holds so something else can exhale inside of it. That is what the sentinel does. He creates this invisible frame that lets someone else feel safe enough to soften, to relax, to enjoy. He's not loud about it. He's not flashy about it. He's not clinking champagne glasses at your side because he's already clocked the guy on the patio who's had two drinks too many, and he's watching him like a hawk because he's entering the perimeter, right? This instinct is deeply noble. But here's what a lot of people are going to miss about it. Watching out for everyone else, I imagine gets very heavy sometimes, right? And so these are the things that if ladies, we recognize that guys are doing, we can actually just call it out, notice it, say something. It's so unconscious to him that if you are paying attention, this is what he's going to be like, oh my God, she noticed. What? That is you giving him love back. It is such an easy, beautiful thing. And men don't get medals for this. It's a quiet servitude that's always there. And this is the part of them that's sacrificing. This thing matters to me, so I'm going to protect it. It's just what he does. Allowing systems inside of it to dance and play and live and be free. He's a boundary between paradise and hell. I know that might sound like I'm really overreaching. I'm not. I really mean that. It's amazing. And whenever you actually comment on this and you actually tell men how a good job that they're doing this, it will shock him, by the way, because he doesn't think people are noticing that. And it's also going to touch him on a very deep level because he's, holy shit, someone cares about me. He's sitting here making sure everything else is protected, caring about what everyone else is feeling. The Sentinel doesn't protect because he's paranoid. He protects because he knows on a cellular level, if he lets his guard down, someone else might pay the price. And he could have been the one to prevent that. So if you are this man, I want to give you my gratitude for holding the line, for keeping the lights on, for keep scanning for darkness. Sometimes it does feel like controlling. I'll admit I have had that thought until I really started to pay attention and relax around it and trust that you are scanning because you care. And you're not trying to control, you're actually doing it because you love. And I'm sorry that I missed it before. And I hope that the women that are listening are also going to start scanning and seeing this in a different way as well. Okay, so now that we have said that, I want to expand on how men actually do love because we're diving into that a little bit. And it's important that we see that the guardian's love is containment as care. It's like a discipline kind of devoted thing. Okay, so there's a kind of man whose love doesn't always look like the love that women are scanning for in cuddles and soft spoken words and softness. Sometimes it can feel mean, and it's actually not meant to be like that. When it comes to the guardian's love, it shows up as structure. It does show up as boundaries, and it shows up as containment of chaos. So if something is going to cause chaos, there's containment that will happen to protect that thing. So if you're not trained to recognize it, you're going to miss that this is love at all. It's protecting the mission. It's protecting the thing that matters, whatever that was deemed in this situation or this environment or whatever. This is the guardian, the man who anchors the storm so you don't get pulled under. This is the guy that's got to make really tough decisions, the one who takes the weight of the responsibility, who plans for what could go wrong because he's doing the best and refuses to let you go unprotected. There is a level of heat that this energy will give off. It can look mean. The Guardian loves in ways that won't always win popularity contests. He's not an asshole, but he holds the hard line. He tells an inconvenient truth. And he enforces boundaries that no one's going to really clap for because he knows that cost. And he knows what it's going to cost him if he doesn't. Because real containment of chaos requires knowing why it's essential that he is holding the line. And in doing so, making decisions that protect things instead of collapse that boundary that he's got. He does this with a lot of self restraint. There's going to be times where he wants something, but he can't have it. It means denying himself certain comforts. He's going to be more of a steady structure when chaos is creeping in because of this. It's a rough around the edges kind of thing. And so if the sentinel is doing the watching, the guardian is holding the line too. He's containing, not to control you, but protect what matters inside the space he's building. And sometimes the way he says no to you is the exact same way he's saying yes to your safety, the vision, your peace, life, whatever the thing is. And so he's holding a certain line of responsibility. And sometimes that can feel very uncomfortable for the people that are not making that decision with him. He's not trying to make anyone smaller. He's trying to build a big enough container to hold both of you when the world is going sideways. It's not always going to feel soft, but that structure rarely does sometimes. What it will feel like is whenever those decisions have been made and initiated, it will feel more secure and solid and safe inside of that container. And, that is the kind of love that lasts. It's this one, the one that doesn't flinch, the one that doesn't run when it gets complicated, the kind that holds its post even when it feels unseen. And this is what guys do all of the time. It's tactical. He's chess gaming a lot of things and he's making hard decisions, but he has to make a decision based off of the information that he's got. Most people don't know what it costs a man to make these things because he doesn't broadcast it. He just does it. And he just grits his teeth in his fists and he just keeps moving forward. And you might think he's rigid. You might think he's mean. You might think he's overbearing. but pause and just consider what it takes to hold boundaries in a world full of people who break them. He's not trying to win points, he's trying to protect the future. So make no mistake, this kind of love is hard earned and it requires self mastery. It requires internal containment. It requires a man who can face himself and choose to leave even when no one sees it in him. So, ladies, notice it, comment on it, love him for it because they need the battery pack of love too. That is what your dimension is about, is by maintaining the emotional connection inside the relationship while he's out there protecting the line so that you can be here. So give back to him. The next section is something that I learned about men that has done so much for my life, and I am so eternally grateful. And I just wanted to unpack this a little bit and talk about structure. Okay, structure isn't necessarily about rules. It's not about obeying someone else's code. It's not really rigidity. It's more of a self-responsibility. It's about having your own code and one that you actually respect enough to follow. Because structure is not just about helping you survive hard things that I have come to find out. It's about guiding you through them to get to the other side. So basically, it's like when tragedy hits someone, that structure gives us a place to come back to our center. When we're overwhelmed, structure matters a lot. Is going to call you home a little bit faster whenever you're faced with really hard decisions. You have a structure you can lean on, something that you use to navigate through things. I personally like to look at this as like an internal scaffolding. So the internal strength that we carry as people, to me, is structure. It's an internal scaffolding. It's built from a lot of different things, but some of my favorite ones is like integrity, accountability, emotional regulation, self-responsibility. There's discipline, awareness, resilience, adaptability, stuff like this. So I know that's like a big maybe concept, but I really learned this more and more from watching men. And so guys are so fucking cool because I see your pain and I hear your gut-wrenching transitions through really hard stuff in life. But ones that have a lot of real structure that they have built inside of them, they don't get twisted. They might have a moment of fog or lack of confidence and they don't know how the hell they're going to get through something, but they have forged this internal steel into something really strong from the fire of the pain of life, of learning accountability, of learning self-responsibility. It's a raw material that we carry as people and it can be shaped. It can be shaped into a lump that's useless or it can be shaped into an internal strength. So that material can be refined or it can be warped. We're all going to go through emotional pain. There is a concept of this psychological pain tolerance that I like to lean into when it comes to how much structure does someone have? And I start noticing you can kind of feel who has this pain tolerance, not based on kind of how tough that they act, but how sturdy their internal scaffolding is inside of painful events. The stronger the beams, the more pain they can hold without warping. But they come out on the other side taller. It is so freaking fascinating. There's something incredibly Batman about that to me. And the steel is like, it takes shape under extreme heat and pressure. And it can be warped or it can be refined. And that's the choice that all humans have. And to the people that decide that they are going to refine this internal steel in them, it can be shaped. It can be shaped into a blade that cuts people, or it can be refined into a shield that protects people. So, I mean, that's what's really cool about our choices and how we're going to interpret the bad things that happen in our life. And within all of our pain, we are coming through that in some way, shape, or form. And we can forge that into something that supports ourselves and others, or cages ourselves and others. And I kind of find that this is what may be the thing that makes people a little bit more trustworthy under pressure. They are anchored and grounded internally. They have a foundation that's strong that they stand upon. There is this emotional containment that they have. There is a sense of self-responsibility, personal integrity. And there's this, like, to me, it's like this internal compass that is wanting to do the right thing and make decisions that are for the greater good. And a lot of the times, many times, these decisions sometimes mean sacrificing our own comfort and the things that we really, really want for the bigger picture that's best for everyone else. And so the stronger the internal scaffolding in people, the more chaos that they can hold without becoming chaotic. It doesn't mean that they don't get hit and that they don't fall down, but they are able to pull themselves up because they have that internal scaffolding in a way that refines them into stronger people. And that's something we only really learn in trauma and pain. Will we continue to collapse and twist? Or are we going to forge that internal steel inside of us? It's a very interesting human experiment that we all get to play, and we always think that, life sucks. And I don't look at it like that. I'm like, all right, this is the next test of my steel. What the hell am I going to do with it this time? Because we're all going to mess up from time to time, and we're going to learn the wrong lessons. The funny thing is life is always going to give us these curveballs again and again until you kind of try to get it right. And look, I myself, not born into this, not at all. My upbringing, I actually had a lot of masculine structure around me, but there were some things that were missing in it, because it is crazy what I used to do. I used to think I was a pretty accountable person, pretty self-aware, pretty accountable as I came. Taking self-responsibility and trying to be a good person was something that I remember my dad, he was always the parent that got the compliments that your kids are so well behaved, your kids are so respectful. My dad would take us aside and he would have a stern conversation, but there was love in that conversation as well. It was not this beat up moment, you suck, stop doing that kind of thing. It had components of that, of this is your off navigation, let's get you back on track. This is what we're doing, not that. And this is why. But the undertone within that structure was always this belief and love, and I believe in you, you can do better. It wasn't just I expect you to be better. It was I believe that you are. And so because of that, I had some internal scaffolding that was within me, and my parents were always complimented about how wonderful their kids were because of that. However, I didn't learn the lessons that I needed to early on in some of my own pain that I started to deal with. I was getting older in life, and it was more on me. Looking back, I used to justify all kinds of behavior and kind of cling on to hurt in ways that twisted me a lot, and I didn't know what to do with it. And I can kind of laugh because it's a little wild. I really believed that I was kind of growing through stuff when actually I was just rehearsing my wounds enough to where I was validating behavior, and it was making me want to lash out and making me feel like I was right to lash out at someone, or I was right to feel this thing. So even though I had some structure in me, I wasn't attending to integrity. I was attending to myself, but not integrity into how I showed up in the world. And this is where whoopsie, I didn't catch this. This is where the world got to teach me some shit. So on the inside, I felt strong, but under relational pressure, I wobbled, especially in leadership, especially in love. But the shift really started happening when I was focusing on real accountability and self-responsibility. What can I control in this? And that sense of self-responsibility gave me something. This internal build started to click into place more. And I didn't learn that from books. I learned it from watching the men around me. Men who held the line, men who didn't collapse. Just because they have a burst moment of frustration or anger, that's not collapse, okay? But men who molded consistency whenever I couldn't. Even this is a hard thing, so the fuck what? Let's go. And that was almost like, oh, but my feelings. And yes, your feelings, but also this too. And that second transition of that sentence, so important that people are not doing. And here's the beautiful twist in this is when I started really clicking this into place, that didn't make me less feminine. It made me more feminine whenever I started recognizing my own responsibility within how to incorporate my femininity onto the world. Whenever I apply this stuff, that's where my femininity became safer and stronger and more discerning. So I was able to take lessons from the men and use it in sort of my own internal scaffolding so that I can do my duty, my role, my job as a woman better. And so the guys that stood tall when I couldn't, you saved me. And I mean that. You didn't coddle me, but you did hold me accountable in a way that was very loving. And I had to start seeing what the intention was of the way you were doing it in the rough around the edges way. And instead of taking that personal, look at the love that you were giving me for that. And because of that, I found something that's getting more and more unshakable in myself. So thank you sincerely. You didn't just inspire my structure, you protected it and you helped guide and mold it. And it made me really think, what if we learned all of this sooner? What if this kind of scaffolding wasn't rare, but it was normal? Because structure to me, it doesn't show up in adulthood, it's seeded in childhood, which means parents, mentors, teachers, your modeling matters. If you are weak in your own internal scaffolding, what are you modeling to your kids? Because the kid who learns to run from pressure becomes the adult who disappears when it counts. And one of the things that I see this everywhere in social media is if you're talking about relationships, you'll see somebody post something painful and then be like, you deserve better. You should just leave. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. We're running because we don't know how to hold the line of let's figure this problem out and what's causing it. It's like, let's just leave. Let's just cut ties. I deserve better. Mm. One of my mentors said something one time, okay, but do you deserve better? Like, are you being accountable for yourself? Are you being responsible for that? Or do you just feel bad things and you don't want to feel bad things, so you quote unquote think you deserve to feel good things? Well, guess what? Feeling good things means you have to be responsible, accountable, and earn those good things. You don't just get entitled to them. And that was something that I had to actually face and like raise my hand and be like, oh, yes, that lesson was a very good one to learn. Thank you so much for teaching me that. Because holy crap, the entitlement of I just deserve good things that I want is very not okay. That really doesn't help our kids understand responsibility and self accountability. And look, I'm not a parent, so I say this with deep humility, but I have seen the difference because there's some young adults that I will see walking around the world with very clear boundaries, accountability, respect. They're very resilient. They shrug things off that are like, yeah, that's not a big deal. It's okay. And you can feel it on them. I wonder what your upbringing has been like, because good job. Like, you are here for the bigger picture, not just yourself. And there's something very, very cool about that. And almost always someone in their life has modeled that structure for them. And you can see this nervous system in this human. It shows up with honesty, and it's a heart that takes responsibility, and a human who keeps going when it's hard. It's like, I'm going to take the licks and keep going. We have that pain tolerance that I like to say. And when you develop a human that's got pain tolerance, by the way, you can develop pain tolerance at any time. But when something is painful, it doesn't mean, oh, just because this is painful doesn't mean I'm not going to feel the pain. That's not what I mean. You're going to feel the pain, but what are you doing with that pain? Are you warping? Are you collapsing? Like, review episode 6, because that's kind of what I'm talking about. But that structure, what I'm saying, is buildable. And the moment that you decide to build it, that's the moment that you stop repeating all of these bad things and getting momentum in the wrong direction. And you start forging and refining yourself into this more structured person that can handle a lot more stuff. And I really, really love that. So I want to model what that means, what that looks like. So let's talk about that looks like when structure is more forged and refined, and when it's not. How does that look on a person? Because the difference between, let's just say, well, we're talking about men today, so let's just talk about the difference between a man that might have internal scaffolding versus a man that doesn't have as strong of scaffolding inside. It's not about charm, strength, or status, okay? It's about what he does when power meets pressure of life. And there's a wonderful story that I want to account for you today that reveals it very good. We're going to talk about two men, one empire. One is rooted in discipline, duty, and grief. The other is ruled by appetite, insecurity, inherited power that he never earned. So I want to show you what that structure kind of looks like and what happens when it's missing. You know who Maximus and Commodus is. If you don't, shame on you. Go find this movie Gladiator with Russell Crowe. It is one of my top favorite movies in all of time. Commodus never got the scaffolding. So when Marcus Aurelius, his dad, did not choose him to become the emperor when he was dying, Maximus was chosen instead because he was forged. And Commodus, he demanded loyalty instead of earning it. He tried to possess Rome because he had no internal anchor to lead it. And so the difference between these two men, where Maximus is earning respect, Commodus demands it with performance and showing off. Where Maximus uses his powers to protect others, Commodus uses power to manipulate and dominate. Where Maximus leads by example, Commodus controls men through fear. Where Maximus endures pain and stays grounded in his honor, Commodus escapes pain and he does it through deceit and theatrics. It's a Weasley kind of feeling. And you notice that Maximus will be forging bonds and Commodus is exploiting them. And Maximus's structure, he's very internalized. He stays very quiet and calm a lot of the times. He doesn't choose to fight. And many times throughout the whole movie, he's a general and he actually throws down his sword so many times. He's like, I'm not doing that. He's got this internal structure, internal compass that he's leaning on. Commodus's structure was a performance. We could see that. And it was weak, which is why he had to get so many other people involved to hold his up. Maximus didn't have anybody else holding up his structure. He had others that started to follow him because there's a reason that men still talk about Maximus from Gladiator. It's not because he was the strongest. It wasn't because he survived. He didn't. But because he held, when everything was stripped, his family, his freedom, his title, he still upheld structure within himself. And that gives off a certain persona of a person. But because Maximus didn't collapse, he didn't dominate the arena, he stabilized it. He carried his grief, his rage, his purpose inside of the architecture of who he was. And that's why even in his chains, men followed him because they weren't following status. They were following courage, honor, and structure. That is what it looks like when steel becomes structure inside of a person. Even in pain, you have something to hold on to. You have something to keep you grounded. Even in the chaos and betrayal, you don't collapse inward because you still have this steel scaffolding holding you up. It's going to get bent and beaten and broken a little bit, but it's still standing. And that's the point. And so this is where we kind of transition in this. There's going to be this pivot point where we see the wounds that people have, but now we need to turn that into something. We need to turn to the forge because make no mistake, like men and women, we are not born guardians. That is something that we earn. That is something that we seek out. That is something that we strive to become. That is that higher self that we are born with the choice to become if we want. That's not a myth. It's not a legend. It's not some head in the clouds existence that no one reaches. It is a state that you earn. It is the outcome of never stopping believing in yourself and what you are here to do. The thing that moves you, you forge it. So men and women, when they are really getting the assignment of what the survive and the thrive is about and they own it, they forge themselves into one of these guardians. And another giant is born to influence more and more people around them. This is the positive contagion that you've heard me talk about. Men are born with this raw material that I think is like made from the axis of the earth, holding things up. And when men really harness this and they take pride in it, they teach the rest of us how to do it as well. They are the raw material, and raw material has vast potential. It becomes something extraordinary when heat and pressure and stress and time mold it. Are we going to abandon it? Are we going to collapse under that pressure or not? If we don't, then it becomes usable, protective, loving, sturdy. And we do very wise to respect, honor, and cherish this so that it doesn't leave this world because I don't want to take advantage of that. I sure as hell want more of it. I don't know about you. Even whenever men fall and they have a lot of trauma and problems, a divorce or people die, the horrible pains that we live as people, there is still this blade inside of them. And I'm so in awe of men because they just keep going, even if they just got face planted in the mud. And guys, look, I know that a lot of you have not been seeing clearly when it comes to relationships and just men in general. Society's got a really big target on your back. You're told that you're cold, you're told that you're weak, that you're controlling. And when you're really just trying to offer direction in moments that other people aren't going to lead, or you're trying to hold your pain in silence and you just don't know how to put words to it, you're doing the best that you can. And, there's a lot of guys that just get left behind. And it absolutely breaks my heart. So, I noticed that whenever I started changing myself as a woman and I stopped looking at men as the problem, but what is it that they give me? What is it that's really here? What is actually true? And I started actually going around asking them questions and just holding a place of listening without judgment. No matter what they said, they have some tough things that they say. And some of them are so shameful for the things that they share. But amazingly, whenever a woman shows up in a space where whatever he says, she's able to hold that because I have my own internal structure. I can hold the painful things, the maybe embarrassing or the regretful things, hold those spaces and just look at the man he's doing the best that he can. And he knows that this is something that he wants to change. Who am I to sit there and browbeat him for that? judge him for that. Instead, I think that that's actually a beautiful paradise that he just entered, because all women want men to open up. And ladies, whenever you start seeing men for this amazing thing that they really are, these instincts that I have outlined for you, just because they look differently from our instincts does not mean that they are not valuable. They are crazy valuable. And the more you recognize those things that he's bringing, the more he will do them. And the more he does them, the more you feel taken care of. And the more you feel taken care of, the happier you are as a couple, because you're allowing him to be your sentinel. You're allowing him to be your guardian, and he wants that position. But he also wants to be respected and not taken advantage of it in that space. Not to say that all women are doing this, but this is a very common thing that men are experiencing. And whenever a woman is really showing up in her femininity in that space, for me, I'll speak for myself. When a man gives me some kind of structure, his perspective, even if it's not the one that's the same as mine, grounds the situation. It calms me down, and I feel kindness in the correction that they give. The correction that they give sometimes is hard truths, and it's like, man, I really don't want to hear that, but they're doing it because you need to hear it, and you need to hear it not because he thinks he's right and you're wrong. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with helping you. Men ache in their quietness whenever they're really trying to be understood, but they don't know how to articulate it. And women, whenever you show up feminine, truly feminine, watch how men come alive, how they rise, how they smile with that spark like something ancient just got reactivated in them. And that is why I'm saying this to you, because it's really important that we recognize the role that we have in this as far as relationships and men and women go. Look at the core instincts. The reason, this whole purpose of this episode was, let's explore the core instincts that we have to work with. And then whenever we honor those, we respect them, we are jubilant that they are there, you get more of those. And guys, I know you've made mistakes. Maybe you've misfired. You have chosen wrong. You've collapsed a little bit. Maybe you've hurt people. But you are not your mistakes. You are the steel that's underneath them. You are the man who keeps coming back to the mission. Because the difference between the villain and the hero isn't the pain that they've endured, it is what they do with it. The villain makes others feel what he felt and that pain. The hero protects others from what he felt. And you know who you are. So gentlemen, I'm going to tell you something that I have adopted as far as a motto from you, and I'm just going to give that back to you, and I hope that's okay. Just keep going. Keep tapping into that internal scaffolding. Keep letting your structure make the world safer to love in. That is the mission, isn't it? To love well, to lead without harm, to leave better people than when we found them. That's what makes you a guardian. Not perfection, but alignment with the mission again and again. So thank you for walking it. We see you. We need you. And in case no one has told you yet, we are so much better because you're in it. If you really liked this episode, I want you to look me up on Facebook, or you can join my Relationship Evolutions Facebook group, where we take these conversations deeper. It's for the men and women that are refining their own steel, figuring out how to build better foundations for themselves, learning how to lead in love and not in collapsed loops anymore. I was one of these people only a mere 4 or 5 years ago where I really had no direction. It's not too late for us to start learning how we can start forging ourselves into something better, into something unshakable, into something more valuable for ourselves and for the rest of the world. So if you're really ready to start forging yourself into something and really bridge this divide in yourself, in your life, with your relationships, I want you to email me directly and we can talk about coaching and what we can do for you. I want you to email me at kelly@levelupyourlow.org. And for our next episode, I did want to tease you for just a moment, because we are cracking open the other side of this equation. If we're going to be honoring men and what their raw core instincts can be and how they do show up in the world, we have to do the same thing for women. We're going to do it with the same loving way, looking at the feminine and what this energy, what this dimension of thriving is about. Whenever women are growing in that dimension of femininity and really becoming the guardians of that realm, what does that look like? We're really going to be discussing the forces that she truly has inside of her, and maybe you'll see what she's actually really made of. and what you've been missing all along. So let's take that on and get to work. See you guys.